Welcome to the BioHub. Today, I have a guest who needs no introduction, but I'll do it anyway. 40 years of experience across Biotech and Pharma, 6 years as CEO of Ipsen, where he currently serves as chairman. He led the successful sale of Cincor Pharma for $1.8 billion to Astrazeneca and the sale of Corvidia to Novo Nordisk for $2.1 billion. Now he serves as the CEO of Abivax, who just completed the largest ever NASDAQ IPO for a French biotech. Such a pleasure to introduce Marc de Garidel. How are you, Marc?
Good. Thanks, Max, for inviting me.
No, it's an absolute pleasure. Honestly, an honor, really is. I know we've had some good guests so far, but yeah, really a pleasure to have you. So yeah, let's just kick things off. So you've obviously been incredibly successful throughout your career. What was the initial inspiration for you to get into biotech pharma world?
Well, I would say it was more, an accident. I would say because I was doing my graduate studies, an MBA in the US. When at the end of the program, I was interviewed by a number of companies. Actually, a number of them were pharma companies, and as I got interviewed, I got into the excitement of the developing new drugs, trying to make a difference in patients' life, and having also a look at essentially global business, because when I was relatively young, I did a lot of traveling around the world. I was probably a curious guy, and so I thought drugs are good for everyone, so it's probably really truly an international business, so I'll get exposed to different countries. So I thought it's good, and then probably my mother initially was a nurse, so probably a bit of the genes came back to say probably doing good things for patients is of value to society. So I think that was the background.
Yeah, so you were interviewing for other roles as well in different industries, and then just happened to fall into this industry.
Yes, absolutely, exactly. Yeah, initially, I was an engineer, and I realized that civil engineer. I realized that probably if I were to build bridges, they would collapse. So, in the interest of mankind, it would be good to not to pursue engineering in practice. So.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think that leads nicely into the next question. What were the most significant challenges and achievements during your 6 years as CEO of Ipsen, and what led you to making the decision to step down as CEO?
Sure. So I think, talking about the challenges initially, to me, there were two kinds of challenges. One was related to the business, and two, the fact that I was a new CEO. So in terms of the business, Ipsen in late 2010, when I joined, had a major setback for a drug, a GLP-1, actually, the class that now is becoming so successful with both Lilly and Novo. But so the drug was being developed with Roche. The phase 3 failed, and Ipsen stock was divided by two. So that's one of the reasons why they wanted to get a new CEO. But in addition, Ipsen had a legacy business in the primary care arena, which growth also was slowing down significantly. It was providing a lot of cash, but not enough growth. And then on the specialty side, the drugs that were sold by Ipsen were actually good drugs, but probably were underinvested. So there were multiple challenges. In addition, the US business was not good. There were two acquisitions being made to try to compensate for the the erosion of the primary care business that didn't go well. So honestly, there were also issues, but there were some good fundamental drugs that I thought could be further developed. So that was, I think, the part of the challenges. But then, the next thing was I was a new CEO, and when you become a new CEO, when you haven't done it before, even though you think you're prepared, you have to learn also as part of this process. And I think the combination of the two led for me to probably the first couple of years of serious challenges. But I think directionally, what I was able to do is I was able to sort of simplify the company. I am a big advocate from my Amgen days on focus and speed, the two combined.
Okay.
So I think the long-term strategy, I think, was actually, I believe, appreciated by Wall Street. And then it was more a question on how fast we would deliver and how we would resolve, the US issues with the losses. And then I think partly I made the right bet on a lead molecule called somatulin, which was already commercialized by Ipsen for essentially an indication on the symptoms of neuroendocrine tumors. And luckily in 2014 we had the outcome of a great trial which showed that the drug could slow down the progression of disease by actually more than 50%. So as a result, we were able to prepare a launch in the United States to actually relocate the subsidiary from the West Coast to the East Coast, and led this drug to become actually a blockbuster drug, which for a mid-sized company, is pretty exceptional. There are not so many blockbuster drugs that have been, commercialized by mid-sized companies. So it was a good success. And then I think the other thing I did before I left was the deal with Exelixis. Exelixis was based in California and developed a renal cell carcinoma treatment, which now pretty much has become standard of care in the world, and displaced a drug initially from Pfizer. So it's been obviously changed completely the picture of Ipsen. And then now that I'm a chairman, I'm pleased to see we triple sales since I arrived. We multiply EBITDA by 7, and our US subsidiary has been obviously highly profitable and contributed to this increase. So overall, a great experience, but I lost some hair, more definitely. Hair on the first few years, and but I survived. And then I think after 6 years, I felt actually pretty good. The company was growing, at about 17%. And then I said, I think I did what I could. It's time for me to relax a bit, to take actually a bit of vacation for a while, and to think about what I would do next. And probably because I am in my genes some sort of entrepreneurship genes. It took me really a year to figure out what I would do, and then luckily I was on the board of a number of companies at the time, and I was able to speak to one of the board members at Corvidia, who was actually the chairman, and who told me, well, we have a nice drug we are developing, early phase 2. We need an experienced CEO that can do studies and possibly commercialize. And I got lucky also to enter that company that ultimately was sold to Novo for nearly more than $2 billion. So it's been it was a great contribution to the development of the company, and shareholders were indeed surprised and impressed by the quick value accretion within 2.5 years. So,
and I suppose just a side thing to that, you use the word luck. Luckily, you sold that asset. How much does that come into it, do you think?
Well, I think it was Pasteur who said luck favors the prepared. So luck doesn't happen completely by coincidence. So you have to prepare yourself. But indisputably, in the field of science, there are people who do very good work to develop drugs, and unfortunately the drug doesn't turn out the way expected. So this is where I think luck plays a role. But on the flip side, there are a number of instances of good drugs which have been poorly developed, end up with failures, and that's what you want to avoid. So I think I think the industry in general, at least what my belief is that as a leader, it's you need to learn and learn. So this is an industry where experience plays a key role, but also because science evolves quickly, you learn new things. you need to adapt, to the new reality. But I think luck plays a role. But again, you can put it on your side, or I think or you can have there are still some execs who unfortunately over time don't develop that luck. So.
No, that's true, and I think there's no other industry like it, is there? Where you use the word luck, and it's almost warranted in a way. It's crazy, really, when you think of it like that. Moving on to Abivax, when you were looking, you must have had so many career opportunities. So what made you choose Abivax as the next one?
Well, initially I thought I would retire because after the Cincor sale, I thought it's time to breathe. And then one of the investors who was in Cincor and also in Corvidia, so Sofinova Partners, told me, Marc, if you don't want to work full time, we have possibly some chairmanship jobs to in our portfolio where you could be good. And I told the managing director, Antoine Papiernik, that it would be great if you could do a bit of work for me, so to help me figure out which companies were among the top, so that again I would not end up in a place where we don't want to waste my time. So he picked a couple of companies. I looked at them, and Abivax was there. And then when I looked at Abivax in more depth, I found out that I thought, well, it's not only a chairman, it's really a CEO who's needed. And because the phase 3 had started, I was very struck by the fact that the company was under-resourced, had basically a business model completely outsourced. And for a very large phase 3, $300 million investment, I thought, well, the CEO needs to have a lot of experience to come in to be successful. And in the end, what I said to the partner at Sofinova Partners, I said, well, at the end, I think I should be the CEO, and we'll do the reverse. You find a chairman later, because I think it's going to be easier to do it this way. So that's when I joined in early May of 2023. And actually started, my first day was at a big congress in America, the DDW Congress, where I was able to meet with the top 10 KOLs in the world of field of ulcerative colitis and Crohn's disease, so IBD as it's called. I saw a lot of excitement among the doctors about what we are doing. So that's how in the end I decided to be another CEO, so probably this time for the last time. So
that's such a great story, actually, because it makes you think, how many other companies are there like Abivax who have got this great science that just are maybe not spotted? Why do you think that happens, do you think?
Well, I think it's partly because I got the benefits simply of having a large experience. I was working in big pharma. I worked in small companies. I worked in mid-sized companies. So I've been able to accumulate throughout my career, a bunch of looks at different things. I've seen a lot of failures. I've seen some successes. And, it's hard to find. There are not so many CEOs like this. I mean, in the world, there are, maybe 50 like me, but it's not, it's not in the hundreds. So I think that at the end of the day, that's part of why, experience counts in this, in this field. So.
No, you're right. Yeah. I mean, my main trade is recruitment. So I know that people of your caliber are extremely hard to come by. And then you've got to get the timings right and everything like that. So, sometimes it is almost written, that the stars align and all of that.
Yeah, no, exactly so. But again, it's a fascinating industry. I think that's why it's so important to want to learn. I mean, the key success factor is you have to learn. You have to be humble. Science, leads to be humble, because the people who think they have invented everything usually, are pretty dreadful and usually don't deliver anything in our industry. So, because there are always surprises, and you need to rebound, and you need to be, adaptive to things.
No, agreed. And then, looking back at the last year, 2023, if you look at it for you, it seems like a pretty big year. Record-breaking IPO, opening the Boston office. Talk me through it.
Yeah, I mean, again, so I think what I tried to do when I joined in early May, 2 weeks after, I said to the board, independently of the strategy which we are going to define in the next 2 months with the team, we really need to beef up the resources. We are about 50 people, together, mostly based in France. And I said we need to multiply by 2, and by the end of the year. So we need to hire 50 people. I have not done the strategy yet, but I can tell you, just the execution of the phase 3, if we want to have a successful phase 3, we need to beef up a number of capabilities, particularly around clinical development, statistics, data management, pharmacovigilance, a number of key functions that were not, I think, in my view, properly staffed because they were all externalized. So we, quickly decided to hire, and then we got again lucky because Arena Pharmaceuticals, who had been sold to Pfizer in the field of IBD, basically released a number of talents which we were able to grab. And then I brought some people from Cincor with whom I had obviously a lot of trust. And then on top of that, I had a really good core of people in Paris. We had brought the company to already a very nice level at the end of the phase 2. So we combined the 3 things, and we were able to advance and reinforce the execution of the company. So that was one. Then in the first 2 months, his team at the top really figured out what do we want to do next, what are the priorities beyond the ulcerative colitis, which was again under development. The question is, are we going to develop indication? So within 2 months, we figured out the strategy. We presented that strategy to investors in early September, and in parallel, we prepared the ground for an IPO on the NASDAQ. And again, I had a good team, financial team also here in Paris, who was already prepared for that. Then I had done an IPO before with Cincor just the year before, so I knew exactly also what to do. And then in October we were able to pull it together and do this largest IPO ever for a French company, despite very difficult times, because this was right in the middle of the beginning of the Israel-Gaza war, and that was a pretty tough environment. But nevertheless, we were able to raise the money and to continue to execute. So I think it's partly the fund. You need to have the foundation. You need to have good people around you. I don't I need a lot of good people around me to be successful. So we I think de-risked the company by attracting some very good people, and then it's all about execution, and making sure you have the money to run good trials, because blockbusters are not developed by doing small studies. It's very expensive these days. So in the field of IBD, for ulcerative colitis, just to give you a number, it's cost about $200,000 per patient for the study. So these are extremely expensive study to run.
Yeah, and it's becoming a common theme really from these podcasts, the BioHub podcast. People. It's just so important to get the essence right. And then you're right.
Yes.
Then it's all about execution.
Yes.
Yeah, especially when you're a smaller company.
Yeah, because your team is as good as your weakest link, and developing a drug is a bit like a puzzle. So you need to put all the pieces together, and if you miss one piece, you have no drug. So so you have to be very attentive to each of the the components, the regulatory, again the manufacturing, CMC, clinical development, clinical operations, statistics, all these various functions. But that's also what makes this job so interesting. So it's highly complex, but once you pull the things together, you can develop a great drug for patients, and you're going to make a difference, forever in the life of patients. So that's a wonderful thing.
Yeah, and that's what it all comes down to at the end of the day. Yeah, it's incredible. Yeah, I mean, this follows on so nicely. You must be so proud of the team and what you've built so far. What makes them so special, and then what makes you good, inspiring, and a motivating manager for them?
Yeah, I think they are special because again they come with a great background. but I think they have the same, we all have the same inspiration. We think, our mission is very unique. We are developing, likely the first oral agent that could become standard of care, for the treatment of ulcerative colitis. So we are extremely privileged to be associated with the development of this drug. We believe in it, and that is very inspiring for all of us. It's not a me too of the sixth drug in the class. This is a new mechanism of action. This is kind of groundbreaking technology. Again, maybe it will fail, but at least we would have tried to launch a drug that is very special for these patients. And remember, in IBD, these patients are young. They are between the age of 20 to 40. Their life is misery because they have to go constantly to the bathrooms. They lose blood. They are fatigued. Very often they cannot have a good, solid professional life, and very often their private life is ruined as well because they can't operate normally. So this is again meaningful development for all of us, and I think the team is very conscious that what we do here is special. So
yeah, it's all about the mission, and I'm guessing what you're setting out to do. So what next? What have we got to look forward to with Abivax?
Well, Abivax, you'll know more actually soon because we're going to do a press release on a number of activities for 2024. So we have a bunch of things that we want to accomplish. Obviously, the phase 3 in ulcerative colitis is number one priority. Number 2, Crohn's disease. So we want to start a program, a phase 2 in Crohn's disease. But also we have the excitement to have obefazimod, so our drug, potentially combine with other agents that are out there. So we want to start experiments first in mice, preclinical experiments to test out those hypotheses. But doctors think that obefazimod could be the treatment of choice to combine with other agents. So again, we are very excited about that, to have hopefully by the year end some early results. And then finally, it's all about also making Abivax more known around the world, because we've been, now that we have a bit more funding, we can be more present with gastroenterologists. We're going to attend a number of key conferences, and we're going to publish, some, I think, first class papers about, the potential impact of our drug.
Amazing. Yeah, really amazing. So if 2023 was a big year, then so is 2024.
More to come.
Yeah,
as they say
exactly. Yeah. And then one thing we like to do on the podcast, just you've had a great career, great leader, just mindset sort of things. And one thing a lot of people struggle with, including myself actually, is work-life balance. So how's that been for you? And then as an extension to that, also, what do you think about the progression of working from home and how that coincides?
Yeah, so work-life balance is I believe essential for a leader to succeed. As you have responsibilities, indeed, work is number one because that's the way it is. But apart from that, I think you need to make sure you have time to reflect and to take care of your loved ones. So personally, I've tried to put my family number two, especially when the children were young, to try to be with them. And, some of my colleagues were going to cinema, movies, and so on. I was with my wife and the children as they grew up, which I think provided me with a great satisfaction. And then also, I think the third element, apart from work and family, is also take care of yourself, physically speaking. So you need to pay attention that when you are a lot under stress, and most of the jobs we do, especially when you're a CEO, there is a lot of stress. So you need to take your time to relax, to do some physical exercise or mental exercise, but do things that allow you to take distance and to sort of rebalance, even for work, some of the issues. Because at the end of the day, to be highly productive in work, what you have really to make sure is that you work not on everything, but you work on the very important things that are going to make a big difference to the company and also to patients. And I think some managers tend to be, micromanagers. They tend to spread everything so thin. They don't rely so much on their people, and as a result, they are overworked. They are not very productive, and in the end, their performance is not very good. So I think it's so work-life balance is absolutely essential. It's very hard to do. I mean, there are obviously moments, like when we did our IPO. You work literally night and day. You have to review documents, at 2:00 in the morning. Then it's all about work. But then when you have a moment to relax, take advantage of it, take a break, for example, at Abivax during Christmas and New Year, we said, we close the office, so no work, no emails, nothing. And by the way, I think I received only one email, and the one email was just to wish me, a good Happy New Year. So it was, absolutely, I think, an excellent testimony of, highlighting the importance of taking a break.
Yeah, I think that's great. I'm just glad that email wasn't from me saying something that something that would have related to work. That's a good thing. What sets your mindset apart from the rest, and what has led you to get ahead of other people?
It's a hard question, I think, to answer. I think, obviously you need a lot of energy. You need, need to be inspired by certain things. But I think, in the end, it is exactly what I said a bit before. There are, I think, some leaders who want to micromanage everything. They look at everything. They make comments on everything. But they don't concentrate on what's important, and they don't, or important enough. And then they don't have a sense of the risk that they are taking. You see what I mean? So I think part of the, at least to me, there are two reasons why I think you have been, doing okay versus some of the other colleagues. Is one, I spend a lot of time thinking what's important. Even, every morning when I wake up, you get tons of emails, right? And the temptation is to answer all of them, right? And then to spend, But what you have to figure out is, out of those emails, what is going to be really important in creating value, and you have to prioritize them. So I think always focusing on the things that have big impact is number one. And I think, probably the second thing that is which is related and more specific to the industry, is probably because of my, learning experience. I understand maybe a bit more than others the profile of the drugs and what needs to be done to be successful. There are some CEOs that are, that are better than others. I mean, obviously, for me, one of the most successful CEOs these days is Pascal Soriot at Astrazeneca, who has a fantastic grasp on drugs, and he goes on campus and he has his backpack. He's the CEO of one of the largest companies in the world. And you see him, going to the Congress, reading abstracts. So I think,
nice.
What you need to be is, you need to understand you need to understand the science. You need to read things, but and you need over time to feel the drug, right? It's just hard to describe, but when you see the result of a drug, you start to know this is going to be a good drug or this is going to be a bad drug. So.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I suppose it comes down to prioritization, but also the visualization of what's to come. Yeah.
Exactly.
But I think that's great advice. And maybe this will follow on actually, and might have a bit of overlap. What advice would you give to young people trying to become successful in biotech and pharma?
Yeah, I would say a few things. Learn and learn. This is it's what's wonderful about this industry, is that you're going to be exposed to constant changes in science, new things, and you need to have the ability and the desire to want to learn, because if you don't learn, if you don't understand what you're doing, you're not going to go anywhere. So that's probably one of the important thing. Be ready to learn, because it's just interesting. And two, it's actually one of my first boss told me one thing. When I was actually a young starter, he told me something that actually struck me more over time. But he said very quickly, because I was very impatient when I was young, and he said to me, Marc, it's not how fast you go, it is how far you go. And there is a lot of depth in this statement, because when you're young, you want to have responsibilities very quickly and so on. But in this industry in particular, because it is so complex, I think you need to go through key jobs to learn different facets of drug development or commercialization, or potentially production, so that at the end of the day, when you become a CEO, you have higher chance of success, because you have built all this, you build a house on strong foundation. And in this industry, you need to really understand the foundation if you want to be, I think, successful. So at the expense of wanting to go fast, you need to wait a bit before you ultimately have those responsibilities. So that would be my two pieces of advice.
Yeah, because you see it a lot, don't you? Graduates coming out and straight away using technology, becoming a CEO off the bat, without doing all the bits in between. And it does happen where they're successful, but the majority of the time they're not. And yes. And that's because of everything you just explained. Yeah, I completely get that. But yeah, and look, it's been a pleasure, Marc. I've really appreciated having you on, and I've taken so much from it. Never mind, everyone else is going to be listening. So look, thanks so much for the time.
Yeah, and thank you very much for allowing me to speak to you. So thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Marc. Thanks, everyone. Bye.